Adults over 60 lose up to 3% of their functional strength every year, silently, until a chair becomes the first thing that exposes it. Stand up right now. If you can't complete 12 chair stands in 30 seconds, the normative data from 7,183 adults says your independence is already at risk. Most people over 60 have no idea whether their strength is declining until something goes wrong. A stumble on the stairs, a chair that suddenly feels harder to get out of. The Rickley and Jones Senior Fitness Test, a validated battery used in clinical and research settings worldwide, gives you a personal baseline you can measure, track, and act on. Today you're running 3 of its core tests, comparing your scores against published normative benchmarks, and walking away with a real picture of where you stand. That picture will tell you exactly which videos in this series to prioritize next. Grab a standard chair, push it against the wall so it can't slide, and sit squarely in the middle. Arms crossed over your chest, feet flat on the floor, one foot slightly ahead of the other. Your goal: stand fully upright and return to fully seated as many times as you can in exactly 30 seconds. Start your timer now. When you're done, write your number down. Here is what the Rickley and Jones normative database, drawn from 7,183 community-dwelling adults across 21 U.S. states, tells us about average performance at 60 to 64. Men typically complete 14 to 19 stands, women 12 to 17. By age 70 to 74, those ranges shift to 12 to 17 for men and 10 to 15 for women. If your number fell below the lower threshold for your age and sex, that gap is not a life sentence. It is a training target. But hold that number, because the next test reveals something the chair stand completely misses. The chair stand is not merely a leg strength test. Research confirms it is a functional task that simultaneously recruits balance, coordination, and movement strategy, the exact combination your body calls on every time you rise from a toilet, a car seat, or a sofa. After age 50, muscle mass declines at roughly 1 to 2% per year, and muscle strength drops at 1.5% annually between 50 and 60, accelerating to 3% per year after 60. Sarcopenia, the clinical threshold of that decline, affects an estimated 5 to 13% of adults in their 60s. But that figure rises to 36% by age 85 to 89, according to a 2025 AORIC cohort study tracking nearly 6,000 adults across a decade. The chair stand catches that slide early when intervention is still straightforward. Low scores are associated with reduced functional independence in clinical literature, which is precisely why your number from a moment ago is worth paying attention to. The second test targets a different vulnerability entirely. This test measures agility and dynamic balance, the two qualities that determine whether you can react fast enough to catch yourself before a fall. You need a chair, a clear floor, and something to mark a point exactly 8 feet in front of the chair. Sit down, and on go, rise, walk as quickly as you safely can to the marker, circle it, and return to seated. Record your time in seconds. Rickley and Jones normative data places the average performance for adults aged 60 to 64 between 5.6 and 3.8 seconds for men and 6.0 and 4.0 seconds for women, where the lower number is the faster, more capable end. Times above 8 seconds in this age bracket signal a meaningful gap worth addressing. The test is deceptively simple. What it actually captures is the integration of lower body power, proprioception, and the nervous system's ability to initiate and arrest movement under mild time pressure. Your third and final test will connect those two scores into something more revealing than either one alone. Sit in the chair, back straight, feet flat. Hold a hand weight, 5 pounds for women, 8 pounds for men, in your dominant hand, arm hanging straight down beside the chair. In 30 seconds, curl the weight to a full bicep contraction as many times as you can, rotating the palm upward as you lift. This test assesses upper body functional strength, the capacity to lift groceries, carry bags, and maintain yourself in a fall catch position. Normative ranges for adults 60 to 64 are 16 to 22 repetitions for men and 13 to 19 for women. The arm curl correlates with overall upper body functional output, important not just for lifting, but for the shoulder and torso stability that underpins safe movement in every context. If you don't have weights today, note the protocol and test yourself before next week. You now have 3 numbers. Together, they tell a single, coherent story, and the next section shows you how to read it. 3 scores, 3 different windows into the same body. Here is how to interpret the pattern. If all 3 scores fall within or above their normative ranges, your functional strength foundation is solid. Your task is maintenance and progressive challenge. If your chair stand is below average but your up and go is within range, the signal points to lower body strength as the primary gap. The program from week 1 of this series is your most direct liver. If your up and go time is slow regardless of your chair stand score, the issue is likely neuromuscular speed and dynamic balance. The content we're planting for the Balance and Brain Aging video coming later in this series is built precisely for that profile. If all 3 scores are below average, that is not a failure. It is the clearest possible signal that a structured, progressive program will produce measurable gains. Chair stand performance, for instance, shows statistically significant improvement across most 5-year age groups in response to structured intervention. Your scores are a starting line, not a verdict. A score without a plan is just a number. The Senior Fitness Test battery was designed not to judge, but to direct, to tell practitioners and individuals exactly where to place their training attention. If your chair stand score was below 14 reps as a man aged 60 to 64, or below 12 as a woman, that lower threshold is your first concrete target. The research on chair stand performance is unambiguous. Scores decline significantly across each 5-year age bracket, with the steepest drop appearing after 80, which means the time to act is before 80, not after. Retesting every 8 to 12 weeks gives you a progress signal that is more honest than how you feel on any given morning. Screenshot this video at the score chart graphic, enter your 3 numbers in a note on your phone with today's date, and schedule a retest. The viewers who do this one step are the ones who return in 90 days reporting visible change. The ones who skip it report wondering why nothing changed. Over 4 weeks, this series has taken you from understanding the mechanics of strength loss after 60 through chair-based leg work, joint mobility, and now to a personal, benchmarked baseline you can carry forward. That is not a collection of random tips. It is a curriculum. Week 1 established why lower body strength is the dominant predictor of functional independence. Weeks 2 and 3 built the movement vocabulary. Today's test quantifies where you stand inside that framework. The viewers who commented their chair stand scores below this video have already created something valuable, a public time-stamped record they will return to, compare against, in 90 days. Add yours. The entire point of a baseline is to make progress visible, and visible progress is what keeps the work sustainable past the first month. Your foundation phase is done. What comes next addresses the one variable that makes every physical score either stable or fragile, depending on how well you manage it each morning.